Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to decode what is honestly one of the most confusing, double-meaning acronyms in the entire modern corporate landscape. I mean, if you've been sitting in cross-functional meetings lately, you've almost certainly heard the term RAG thrown around. And, you might have noticed that half the room seems to be talking about something completely different than the other half.
So, just picture this. You're sitting in an all-hands meeting, or maybe a big project steering committee, and someone urgently asks for the RAG. You kind of freeze, right? Are they asking the engineering team for a super technical update on the generative AI architecture? Or are they just asking the project manager if the timeline is currently on a green traffic light? It's a classic corporate terminology collision. But don't worry, today we're going to completely clear it up. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with A tale of two RAGs. Then we'll look at AI RAG and building the engine. After that, context windows and hallucinations. Fourth, we'll pivot to PM RAG and the traffic light system. And finally, we'll wrap up with the honest road to green. Let's get right into it.
All right, Section 1, A Tale of Two RAGs. Let's just resolve this acronym ambiguity right out of the gate. The corporate world is literally split right down the middle here. For AI developers, RAG means Retrieval-Augmented Generation, but for project managers, it stands for red, amber, green. Same exact letters, wildly different applications. The absolutely crucial point is understanding the core function of each. AI RAG is all about connecting massive language models to external proprietary databases. Why? To stop them from making things up, what we call hallucination. PM RAG, on the flip side, is entirely about human communication. It uses really simple traffic light color coding to instantly alert stakeholders about a project's timeline, its budget, and its overall health.
Moving on to Section 2, AI RAG and building the engine.
So, let's explore the technical side of the house first. When engineering teams set out to build an AI pipeline, they usually face a huge choice on day one. They have to weigh two heavyweights, Llama Index and LangChain. Now, Llama Index is purpose-built specifically for document Q&A and RAG. Because it treats retrieval as its primary feature, it requires significantly less boilerplate code. LangChain, conversely, is this massive, general-purpose LLM framework. It's fantastic if you need multi-tool agents with crazy complex routing patterns. But listen, if your main goal is just getting an AI to answer questions from your internal documents, Llama Index is very often the faster, more opinionated starting point.
Llama Index really shines here because it wraps up all the heavy lifting into three incredibly elegant core components. First up, you have the simple directory reader. You literally just point it at a folder, and it automatically handles the messy reality of corporate data, PDFs, Word docs, HTML, without you having to build separate loaders for every single format. Next, the vector store index takes those documents, chops them into chunks, embeds them, and stores them. Finally, the query engine takes the user's question, fetches the most relevant document chunks, and then synthesizes a coherent answer using the LLM. The whole thing makes loading, indexing, and querying feel incredibly seamless.
But, here is where a lot of technical teams actually stumble. How you chunk that data matters immensely. Simple default character counts, like, say, just chopping a document every 1024 tokens, well, that works fine for really simple text, but it fails miserably on complex structured documents. Think about it. A legal contract with numbered clauses needs to be split very differently than a product manual filled with tables. So, utilizing a semantic splitter, one that uses embedding similarity to find natural, logical breakpoints instead of just arbitrarily counting characters, is absolutely essential for high-quality AI retrieval.
Okay, Section 3, Context Windows and Hallucinations. This brings us to a much broader debate happening in the AI community right now. With LLM context windows expanding dramatically, we're hitting 1 million tokens for models like Gemini Pro or GPT 4.1, some developers are asking, is AI RAG even necessary anymore? Like, why build a complex retrieval system when you can just stuff an entire codebase or 50 massive PDFs directly into the prompt? Well, stuffing a prompt has hidden compounding costs. We're talking roughly $2 per million input tokens, with output tokens costing even more. Relying purely on massive context windows will cause your API costs to scale out of control incredibly fast. Trust me, if you run 10,000 queries a month stuffing those massive windows, your finance department is going to have an absolute heart attack.
And beyond just the cost, there is a massive performance trade-off. A well-optimized RAG pipeline can process a targeted query and fetch relevant vectors in roughly 1 second. Boom, done.
Conversely, stuffing a long context window might take the model 30 to 60 seconds just to process the massive input prompt before it even starts generating a single word. And worse still, massive prompts suffer from this known lost-in-the-middle accuracy degradation. Basically, the model forgets or completely ignores crucial information that's buried halfway through your massive text dump. RAG avoids this by pulling only what's actually needed, keeping the prompt lean and accurate. To make your AI RAG even faster and fundamentally cheaper, enterprise platforms are now implementing something called semantic caching. Imagine 10 different employees asking your AI, "What's the new work-from-home policy?" But they all phrase it slightly differently. Semantic caching recognizes the mathematical similarity of those user queries and instantly returns the previous answer. And the best part? It does this without ever making a new, expensive API call to the underlying LLM. It's a real game changer.
Now, even with great retrieval, RAG still isn't fully immune to hallucinations. The absolute gold standard for accuracy is grounding your models in a diverse mix of structured data like your SQL databases and unstructured data like your documents. On top of that, you have to continuously evaluate the pipeline with specialized triad tools, things like TrueLens or Ragus. These tools automatically check three things. Is the retrieved context relevant? Is the answer grounded in that context? And did the answer actually address the user's initial question?
All right, let's smoothly pivot away from the AI pipeline. Section 4, PMRAG, the traffic light. In the world of project management and governance, RAG is a brutally simple traffic light system. It's specifically designed to strip away all that corporate ambiguity, the long-winded excuses, and those overly complex status reports. It lets stakeholders and executives see the true, objective health of an initiative instantly. Green means you are safely within tolerances, amber is a critical early warning, and red? Red means stop the car, you have an urgent issue requiring immediate intervention. However, relying on just a single overarching RAG color for an entire multi-million-dollar project, well, that can be way too macro to be useful. If a massive project is just labeled red, executives don't actually know why it's red. So best practices dictate tracking these distinct sub-RAG indicators. You really need to independently track things like cost, progress, risks, stakeholders, quality, and scope. By scanning these sub-RAGs, a steering committee can pinpoint exactly where a project is hurting. Maybe the overall status is red purely because the team's sub-RAG is red due to sudden understaffing. It gives you the full picture. Now here's a massive pitfall organizations fall into, trying to soften the blow of a failing project. Just keep it simple. Introducing an orange status because your corporate culture is terrified of reporting a red project is a massive retrograde step. Honestly, it only hides the truth. It creates confusion, and ultimately it prevents the urgent remedial action and executive support that the project manager desperately needs to fix the problem before it's too late.
Which brings us to Section 5, the honest road to green.
This is the most crucial part of project reporting: pure transparency. Expert project reviewers often say something that sounds kind of counterintuitive at first. They say a permanently green RAG status usually means you have a massive problem. Think about it. Because all complex projects inevitably face unforeseen risks and hurdles, a project that has never once flashed amber or red usually indicates something's wrong. It usually means the project manager is either terrified of honesty, completely ignoring reality, or actively covering up massive underlying issues. You fundamentally have to train your stakeholders to change their perspective on this. They need to view a red status not as a failure, and definitely not as a reason to fire someone, but as a healthy, functional, early warning system. An honest red status is a cry for help, and it's one that saves massive amounts of time and money because it secures management support way before the structural problems become entirely unfixable. But listen, RAG statuses are completely useless without a clear path forward. If you're going to report a red status, you absolutely must follow these steps. First off, establish objective, mathematical thresholds. For example, if we are exactly 20% over budget, it is automatically red. No subjective debate allowed. Second, report that truth without fear. Third, and this is the big one, simultaneously present your actionable road to green recovery plan. You have to show them exactly what decisions or resources are needed right now to steer the ship back to safety. And finally, review that specific progress at the very next meeting.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we've decoded the highly technical depths of retrieving AI data, and we've illuminated the brutal honesty required in project traffic lights. The ultimate, maybe slightly ironic question to leave you with today is this:
Is your highly technical, state-of-the-art AI RAG pipeline currently tracking on a completely honest, green PM RAG status today? Take a hard look at your own projects, and I will see you in the next explainer.